Welcome. My name is Nicholas Carey. I'm the co-founder of blockchain.com, the founding commissioner for the Blockchain Commission for Sustainable Development, and the author of The Future is Decentralized. We are extremely excited to review in a retrospective what's happened across the markets in the cryptocurrency space from the past 30 days. And we welcome everyone who's joining us, who's been part of the series, and also some new guests with us today that we're looking forward to introducing momentarily. So I'll walk us through the agenda next. I want to tell you a little bit about blockchain.com for anyone that doesn't know. Blockchain.com has been in the cryptocurrency space now for almost a decade. We're sort of widely recognized as one of the most popular cryptocurrency wallets, a place where you can send, receive, secure, trade, and exchange digital forms of money. So you can sign up for a free wallet by going to the App Store and searching for blockchain.com, or to our website and setting up a wallet that way. If you're more of an institutional trader or a day trader, the blockchain.com exchange is going to be a great place for you. You can onboard quickly, provide your KYC and AML documentation, and start trading instantly. We have a deep banking integration for euros, dollars, pounds, Turkish lira, and more. So check out the exchange if you're looking to get a little bit deeper into the markets. We have the blockchain.com Explorer. So for any nerds or academics that are out there, or journalists that are looking to get evidence of what's happening on the cryptocurrency public ledgers, the blockchain.com Explorer is a great place to visit. And for those of you that want to explore some of the other features, you'll have access to these via your wallet. You can borrow, you can buy crypto, and you can also earn interest on your cryptocurrency if you're a long-term hodler. And then finally, our APIs are publicly documented and available for anyone to build on top of our stack. So we are always working to build stuff that hopefully our community finds useful. So I wanted to share a little bit about what we've been working on the past 30 days. The team has been very busy. Probably most importantly is that we finally launched USD instant transfers for the exchange and wallet. This has been a long time coming and a feature a lot of people have been asking for. So if you've heard about ACH transfers, this is that feature. It basically lets you directly fund and withdraw instantly from your wallet and exchange. So long time coming and very exciting feature. We've made some real improvements to the simple swap experience, which are now live in the wallet. We are always optimizing that capability to make it faster and more reliable, and discover better pricing for new assets inside the wallet. So welcome anyone to explore that. We launched the Wrap Digital Gold product on the exchange and wallet as well. Interest accounts are live for Bitcoin Cash and the Stellar, as well as some new features for Android and some other features on the exchange as well. So the engineering team has been happy to deliver those. These are updated screenshots of our wallet, so make sure you're always keeping your software current. You can set your phones to automatically update, but it is important to make sure that your wallet software is always staying up to date, that you're checking that you're making sure you're getting the right payload. So we've updated the interest rates for this month. So if you want to deposit some funds in our interest-bearing features, you're able to do so. They're published here as well as on our blog, and we update those on a monthly basis. This is a great way to earn some extra funds and interest, especially if you're a long-term hodler. And also, these rates far outpace the kind of returns you might get from a standard cash account with your bank. So definitely an interesting feature that we're able to offer. Lastly, the exchange here, we were shipping UI and UX updates all the time, but the big one we mentioned was the ACH for US-based customers. This is a big deal, be a real improvement for being able to enter and exit into and out of the exchange if you want to, and settle in dollars. Okay, so last time we spoke, we covered what had been happening in the cryptocurrency markets across the month of February, and it was indeed a pretty intense month. We went through with our blockchain archaeologist and looked at and pulled some data on what we're seeing on chain, and we had a special guest, the CEO of Kaiko. So anyway, that previous episode is available on YouTube, so happily go investigate that if you'd like. So for today's focus, we're going to cover a few things. Garrick Heilman, who I'll introduce momentarily, will be leading a review of what's happened in the markets over the last month. Some on-chain insights, digging a little deeper into maybe some of the market structures, timings, and some trends we're seeing specifically on the Bitcoin blockchain. And then I'm very excited to introduce our special guests. We have Caleb and Witek from the Enjin team. Enjin has been making some incredible moves from a product development and community perspective. We're here to talk to them about some of the foresight they've had and also some of the work they're doing to deliver against an ambitious agenda. And so very keen to get their perspective, especially on NFTs, which are a real topic of conversation right now. And we're going to help interview them so they give us some of the vocabulary so our community can better understand these things. But anyway, stay tuned. We'll get through the first part of the presentation, and then we'll have our interview with Caleb and Witek after. Thank you. Okay, so without further ado, I will be handing this over to my colleague, Dr. Garrick Heilman. Dr. Garrick Heilman is the head of research here at blockchain.com and one of the most cited cryptocurrency researchers in the world. We are very lucky to have him. He has a distinguished career, spent a lot of time in the United Kingdom, where he worked at the University of Cambridge. He's authored leading research on cryptocurrencies, markets, stable coins, and broader trends in finance. He was ranked as one of the 100 most influential economists in the UK and Ireland, and is regularly asked to share his perspectives with government organizations, the press, media, and you will find his contributions on a nearly daily basis these days. So Garrick has been very, very busy, and we're very glad to have him spend some extra time with us today, walking through what we're seeing in the markets. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Garrick Heilman.
Great, thanks, Nick. Well, I want to work through this this material on the markets quickly here, so we can get to our special guests and talk about the non-fungible token space and how we're seeing strong fundamentals. Crypto moving across the chasm, as we titled this month's outlook, to not just be a speculative asset, kind of looking towards the future, but actually seeing real value and use today. And NFTs are, I think, a big part of that story. So looking forward to that discussion. But first, a quick review of what happened in March. Really a continuation of what we saw in February. High level, crypto had another extraordinary strong month. Bitcoin set a new all-time high. Ethereum just recently also set a new all-time high. We saw stocks continue to do well. The dollar strengthening, having its best month in some time. And then long-term US Treasury bonds and gold tanking again. I mean, long-term bonds down 5%, gold down 2%. These are major moves for both of those. So it's a real interesting kind of story here evolving, especially we're watching the gold. And the macro story has been a big part of what's brought people to crypto, newcomers. Bitcoin's often mentioned as kind of the gateway drug for kind of looking at the broader crypto ecosystem and looking at NFTs and smart contracts and DeFi and so on. But this kind of dichotomy where Bitcoin is kind of positioned as digital gold strengthening while gold is weakening is I think quite interesting. And as we've talked about previously, while Bitcoin's market value is a tenth roughly of the total market value of gold, we think Bitcoin is well positioned and as the lead reserve asset in the whole crypto ecosystem, it helps anchor the crypto ecosystem nicely. While Bitcoin is just a small fraction of gold's total value. The crypto market's just passed 2 trillion in total market value. And that number is not as shocking to some as it might seem, given that many have long expected Bitcoin and Ethereum to both ultimately become trillion-dollar market value networks. Bitcoin's already, of course, made it there. Ethereum's about a quarter of the way there. But that's what's going on in the broader markets. Crossing the chasm. So what do we mean by that? So partly what we mean by that is it's an education process around kind of traditional concerns or hesitations with people coming to know crypto assets and how they work. And one of the big ones that I spend my time on is this concern around energy consumption. We get a ton of media inquiries about this topic. People are understandably concerned about the climate impact, the energy consumption of proof of work networks like Bitcoin, like Ethereum. You see these shock headlines often appear in the media about Bitcoin is consuming as much electricity as a small or even medium-sized country. And it reminds me of this old joke in economics about this economist looking for his wallet under a street lamp, and he's asked by a police officer, is this where you lost your wallet? He goes, no, I lost it in the park. over there, but this is where the light is. So I'm looking here. And the reason I mentioned this kind of probably overused joke is, Bitcoin's network is incredibly transparent. And it's a lot easier to come up with energy estimates for the Bitcoin network than it is for other large and potentially debatable use cases of energy, like, say, for example, Christmas lights. I don't mean to pick on Christmas or Christmas lights. There's a beautification, maybe even a security value from lighting up your house, television, or even the traditional financial system. The mining of metals that go into coins, all the data centers that power our traditional payment networks. The energy consumption for those use cases is actually a lot harder to estimate. And so people tend to pick on Bitcoin because of just how transparent it is. And it doesn't seem very fair to me. But anyway, we're in the process of trying to educate people about this very complicated topic of energy consumption, what types of energy, how much of it is renewable or stranded, what are the energy kind of footprints of other maybe debatable use cases as well. And it's this, kind of ongoing process of education that is very much a part of crypto, going from kind of a kind of niche, kind of small thing to something much bigger, crossing that adoption chasm. As we discussed in our monthly outlook on the blog as well, briefly, we did want to just again kind of like highlight that things are in the markets getting interesting, I guess is maybe the way to frame it. I highlight this tweet from Robert Leshner, one of the founders of the Compound Finance Protocol, a DeFi borrowing and lending protocol, money market protocol, about projects that are sometimes just a week old with billion-dollar valuations. I mean, I looked at the CoinMarketCap leaderboard and it looked like, I think, all top 100 coins by market value had a billion or billion plus dollar valuation. So we're seeing, Bitcoin dominance retrace a bit, getting down closer to 50% from its 60% level where it's been for the last 12 months mostly. We're seeing, some incredible returns in the altcoin space, but with things like the return of the kimchi premium. This is the premium that investors in South Korea are willing to pay for crypto assets like Bitcoin. That premium going back into double digits, like we saw in 2017. We're seeing, this phenomenon with valuations across the top 100. A lot of leverage in the system. We did just want to sound a note of caution, particularly for those who are employing lots of leverage in their investments. That just be aware that some things are kind of perking up that are getting our attention about kind of the state of markets. And just always remember just how volatile crypto assets can be, including, the biggest ones, Bitcoin and Ethereum just a year ago dropped 50% in a single day. So just remember that and stay safe out there. So let's move now to our on-chain insights. So last month, Bitcoin, we saw again, high fees, continuing down slightly from February, to where we had $21 per transaction, down to $18 a transaction. So we did see an improvement in kind of the fees. Ethereum continues to also have just insanely high fees. There was this comment made by Suzu on a podcast recently that really you have to be quite wealthy to use Ethereum. These days, even if you have a six-figure net worth, if you were interacting with the Ethereum network on a daily basis using smart contracts, you could be broke in about a year's time, he estimated. And so, it's an issue we continue to track and watch. The nice thing is it's motivating development of layer 2 networks on these big chains, and that's a subject we'll be exploring more in future outlooks. Transactions can continue to be strong, slightly down from last month, 320 to 301 on average per day. Payments slightly down. Our numbers in terms of activity on the blockchain.com platform still at roughly a third of all Bitcoin transactions. So we're continuing to see and growing slightly, up 1% month over month. So we're continuing to see a lot of strong use for our platform, which is always great to see. So the average transaction size increased 9% in March. And again, this speaks to that concern we have about smaller users being priced out in some ways from direct on-chain activity. It also says something I think more positive about the institutionalization of crypto assets. And as we talked about with Ambra last month, that institutionalization is actually one of the reasons we think any downturn or so-called crypto winters, as we've called them in the past, might be a little less severe and perhaps a little more short-lived than prior ones. And so we see this as a kind of a double-edged sword. It's something that speaks to kind of bigger fish who have deep pockets, getting more involved in the space, able to play, but at the same time, it does price out some activity and some smaller users from the markets. So the mempool continues. This is the kind of holding tank, so to speak, for Bitcoin transactions, continues to grow and inflate. This is something that can cause transactions to be slow. We've tried to highlight in the past when it's actually, if you're using the network, when you might find fees to be lower and able to confirm more quickly. So look at our last month's presentation if you're interested in our analysis of when are the best times to try to use the Bitcoin network from a speed and cost perspective. But with that, let's turn to the main event now and our fireside chat. I'm actually going to hand this back over to Nick now to introduce our special guest from Enjin, and we're very much looking forward to the conversation. Welcome, Caleb and Witek.
Thank you very much, Garrick. So we have a little tradition here at blockchain.com for our podcast and also with all of our new teammates. So as part of their introduction, we always like to ask them, how did you earn your first buck? And so we want to hear a little bit about your story. So quickly introduce yourself. And then we also want to learn how you earned your first dollar, pound, euro, or maybe a token as well. But I think we all probably earned some other form of money first. So I'll start with Caleb. Yeah, how did you earn your first buck?
Hey, I'm Caleb Applegate. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Enjin. So how did I earn my first buck? Well, when I was 11, 12, 13, I actually did a bunch of work at a winery, taking care of, cleaning out the wine vats and yeah, literally everything. It was a lot of fun and very educational.
Nice one. I think that's the first time I've heard of someone that had their schooling done in a vineyard or winery. That's pretty cool. Yeah. All right, Witek.
Hey. Well, other than the nickels and dimes off a lemonade stand, I would probably say, I think when I was around 11 or 12 years old, the game Half-Life came out. And I was huge into that. That game changed my world. And I actually started playing with a tool called Flash, Macromedia Flash, back in the day. That's like completely deprecated now. But back in the day, everyone used to want Flash intros for their websites. Yeah. So I was playing Half-Life online with people, and later Counter-Strike. And all these people that were, having clans, they wanted a clan website with a sick Flash intro, right? So I was actually making those intros for people. And eventually, people started paying me for those. And I started making like hundreds of dollars. And as like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, that was huge money for me. And I ended up actually meeting Maxim, the CEO of our company. And we turned this into like a system where I'd make one Flash intro, and then it would be like, you could change text on it, like change the clan name. And like, we would sell 10 of those for like $400 each or something. And we'd make quite a lot of money on that. So that was pretty interesting as a teenager. I
love that. I love that story. Yeah, I was part of Front Range Company 7, a Halo clan. We had a Flash website as well. So that's a great story. All right, cool. Time. So I guess I'll send this first one to Caleb, or anyone can pop in here. But so for those who are new to Enjin, can you talk to us about sort of the overall mission scope? Who are the key players, companies, institutions, or foundations that are sort of part of this community? Give us an introduction to it, because let's assume not everybody is familiar or knows about Enjin yet.
Yeah, great question. So Enjin was actually founded in 2009 by Witek, Radomski, our CTO, and Maxim Blagov, our CEO. And I didn't know that, Witek, that you all met doing that. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we started in 2009. We built our first product, which was called the Enjin network. And that grew to over 20 million users worldwide. And that was originally spread across over 250,000 gaming communities. I don't know, Witek, if you want to talk just a quick second about what the Enjin network was and kind of our genesis, how we got to doing what we're doing now.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, after doing those Flash intros, we started making websites for these clans and gamers, and we saw that there was, huge demand for these website services. So we decided to make a system for. We were like, we don't want to make every website by hand, so we built a platform. Started working on it back in 2007, where people could actually make a social network gaming website. Just spawn it up, and it would create a full gaming website for you. You could drag and drop modules in onto the page, just like the website builders of today. You could put in your forums. You could even put in a donation module that would donate to your clan. And this was the biggest thing, where whole gaming communities, and thousands of them, would actually support their clans and businesses using this donation system. So what that turned into is, in games like Minecraft, we developed an integration into Minecraft, where people would go onto the Minecraft server's website. They'd pay, for some sort of perk in game, and they get that item or power up inside the Minecraft server game. So once blockchain came around, when we were looking at Ethereum in around 2017, we had this light bulb moment, and we were like, wow, we could actually tokenize these in-game assets and perks. So it really started with the gaming space, and we then had to create this concept of an NFT, because back then it was only ERC20 tokens and pure cryptocurrencies. Concept of NFT just started coming up around late 2017. So we made one of the first NFTs, and really the first NFT platform for gamers to start using, and then it kept growing from there. And we started realizing that anyone could use these NFTs, influencers, enterprise companies, game developers, and yeah, it's been growing from there.
It's such a cool story, because a lot of people don't realize how influential virtual gaming and digital gaming has been to the structure of these crypto communities, but it's a common thread. And the other thing that's super important to me in this is, we all start off playing games. It's just that a whole generation of people did it online, and their concepts of resources and scarcity and what they would want has evolved with the schoolyard being an analog thing to a virtual world. And so to me, this is very unsurprising, but it kind of needs to be said out loud sometimes, which is the types of experiences young adults and kids are having now are completely different than they were 20, 30 years ago. And so anyway, it's been super interesting to observe the success you guys are having with that. I'll pass it on maybe to Garrick to ask the next question. We need to dig in a little bit more into NFTs, define them. You guys have been super early into what is clearly like an incredible trend right now. Walk us through that a little bit, or maybe if Garrick has a more specific question, ask it, but I'll pass it to you, Garrick.
Yeah, no, that's exactly where I wanted to go. Kind of a non-fungible token 101 intro to NFTs. I think a lot of people are new to this topic, and maybe some people had heard of CryptoKitties in 2017, but just start from the beginning. What is an NFT, and why should we care? Why are they interesting? Why are we hearing about these crazy prices for NFTs now?
Yeah,
sure. So you want to take that, Caleb?
Yeah, sure. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. And it's essentially, it's like a unit of data, which is on the blockchain, which is a digital ledger. And they can represent a unique or rare digital item. So what that looks like is digital files like art, audio, videos, really things in video games, creative work. And that's what we're seeing the floodgates open to now. We're talking with creators, influencers, IP, brands, companies. So yeah, NFTs can represent a whole spectrum of this digital art, if you will. Witek, do you want to expand upon that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, from the technical side, it really is, you know, a fungible currency is really that, like, every unit is the same. So you could have, you know, 100 or 1 million of the same, and it's just, you have that quantity. Where a non-fungible token is you have a unique sort of stamped ID on the blockchain that will be there for forever, right? For thousands of years, as long as the blockchain exists. So once you own that NFT, you have that, and then any application can recognize that ID and either show the image or show a 3D video game model or represent some sort of, you know, other concept, like a physical thing that you want to certify, that's attached to that ID.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that just really quick, Garrick, because that's important. So for the everyday person that's listening, when they hear NFT, and I have conversations with friends and family all the time who just, they can't quite grasp the concept of owning something digital, right? For them, the thought of something digital is just, and even for myself in the past, like, what do you mean I would own a JPEG? I would own a PDF? Like, so really this is a bit of a shift of how we see the world in many ways. Enjin's mission is to tokenize all aspects of digital life. And so what that looks like, kind of pulling down from that 500-foot level to boots on the ground, is simply this: we're bringing experiences to the masses through unique, rare access, and something that gives them rare utility, right? So an NFT isn't just a JPEG. This has an access that nothing else does, or a utility that makes it actually have real world value. That's the difference here. When I start explaining that, it's like the light bulb clicks, and all of a sudden you can see the ramification across almost every industry on the planet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take a look of, let's say, if you own a house, you know, what do you actually own? It's really just kind of a license from the government of your country saying that, you know, that property belongs to you. But like, when you look at NFTs, it's really the same thing. It's a social contract on that blockchain with all the other users of that network saying that you own this piece of digital property. So it's exactly like owning something like a piece of property.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for going in depth there. And just to recap, I think you hit on a couple of really important points that I just want to emphasize. So NFTs have something in common with digital currencies like Bitcoin, in that they have a scarcity that's enforced through the protocol and through the network security model. But unlike something like Bitcoin, which is fungible, and one Bitcoin is, you know, supposed to be equivalent to any other Bitcoin, these are unique and are not fungible. That's what the idea of fungibility kind of comes into this. And so scarcity, that's where they're having the common ground, but the fungibility is different. The fact they're not, you know, apples to apples, so to speak. So that's really helpful. Now I want to talk about gaming and NFTs in the gaming space. We of course have heard about NFTs in the art world with Beeple's $60+ million, I think 5,000 days of art sale that a lot of mainstream attention. The gaming space has always seemed to me like a very ripe area for NFTs, but there was this kind of like, well, wait a minute, what about game creators? Are they going to fear the disruption, lose control, and all that? But let's talk about NFTs in more detail in the gaming space, why that's so interesting, and also about the kind of dynamics around gaming and control of marketplaces and platforms, and how NFTs would affect that.
Yeah, great question. Witek, I'm going to let you take this. You're a passionate gamer.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that this is a technology that will really change gaming, and it is starting to. When you look at the way that games have evolved, you know, obviously games are always trying to use the latest technology to make the gaming experience better, whether it's, you know, 3D graphics or VR or, you know, networking for multiplayer. now we have this technology that we can make markets in games work better. When you look at, let's say an MMORPG, like the most popular one was World of Warcraft. I mean, a big part of that game was resource gathering, trading inside the game. And people would actually take their accounts and gold and things like that and have to go outside of the game and sort of black market, sell it on eBay, which was a really sketchy process. And sometimes you'd get your account banned. But people really wanted that. You could see everyone was really, addicted to doing all this market trading. And I think now that we have this technology where you can actually own your items, everything is open and transparent. People can build markets around games. Beyond that, if you don't want to make a game that's just about trading items, just the fact of having your digital identity, made permanent forever on the blockchain, and having the items that you've earned in games be permanent forever. I think this is a huge improvement on gaming. Like there's so many games that I played 20, 15 years ago that I would love to actually, access my character again, see my items, see the things that I did, have that history that was tied to all that time I spent in my past. I mean, this is part of people's lives now. The games aren't just, a silly thing. I mean, this is part of your history, part of the things you do in your life. And games are getting more immersive. So we really think that's important to have your digital identity valued and owned by yourself. The ability to have that history persist and grow with you. I think it's great. And the beauty is that you can then start building applications around that. You could have websites or virtual worlds that show things from other games, like your digital profile. So it's a really exciting space.
I love the idea of being able to revisit like the old scoreboard, right? And like, yeah, I remember that time I smoked everyone. I love it. So we've got a question here for you, Witek. Can you maybe give us a little surprise? What is coming for the big community of the Enjin family? Keep up the good work, team. That I bring one in from the Q&A.
Well, I mean, we have just announced JumpNet and Efinity, and those are major projects we are working on right now. So JumpNet is just being released. It's a POA network that it's really meant to make things free and fast. So people want to distribute, tens of thousands of assets to their communities. They can do that really easily. Efinity is our next generation blockchain network. It's basically a highway for NFTs, and it's built on Polkadot. And we think that this will make gaming and NFTs really usable. When people are running around in a game and doing trades and earning items, it's not really feasible to do that on something like Ethereum, where the transaction fees are high. The network is really, every transaction is ultra valuable. So we're building Efinity for those more useful NFT interactions. And it's going to be cross-chain. It's going to let you port in your assets from Ethereum or move them back onto other blockchain networks. It's going to be compatible with all other parachains on Polkadot, and really give creators and users a lot more features and power, like crafting and things like that. So as part of that, we're launching the EFI token. And something that's going to be coming soon for that is going to be staking, where the whole Enjin coin community will be able to stake their ENJ and actually earn Efinity EFI coin by staking it. Another cool thing is if you own any items from any of these video games or influencers or things like any NFT that you've purchased that has ENJ inside of it, that'll automatically be staked and basically be earning you passive income. So that's really cool for the
cool
people
for creators.
Yeah.
So I've got that is awesome to hear. Congratulations, guys. That's a huge initiative. So let's take this maybe a little bit to a slightly more analog world. Let's say you are a creator today, and this is a question that's come in from our Q&A. There are digital artists. They say, how do I create an NFT and then sell it? In other words, I'm an artist and I have some digital paintings I've created. How do I go about actually, making them an NFT and then offering them in a marketplace? So for at a real practical level, for a gig economy creator today that wants to take advantage of these things in a real practical sense, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so Witek, I'll let you kind of dive into this, but you would essentially have to select your blockchain to begin with. But yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, typically these days, most people are making NFTs on Ethereum. That's going to change, especially with things like the Efinity coming out. But you want, the real nerdy way to do it is to launch your own smart contract and code that up. But 99.9% of people right now are using a platform. So we also have a platform, Enjin Coin, the Enjin Cloud platform. You can go in and you can create your NFT there using a visual interface, hook up your wallet, receive the NFTs you've created, upload images. And you choose a platform, you make the NFT, and then you can figure out how you want to distribute it to people.
And that would be via a marketplace.
Great, thank you. Garrick, I'll give you the next one here.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you started to touch on the staking of ENJ, and I just wanted to, if we could go a little more into the weeds on using the token and how you envision it being used in the future and how it works kind of in a more mechanical way. There's questions about how people participate if they're not artists creating NFTs or even not gamers. So walk us through kind of, in some ways, I guess, a sales pitch of the different ways you can use the token and what, both now and maybe in the future.
Sure. I mean, firstly, I just want to mention, it's really important for people to think about, the scarcity and really what they're trying to create. You don't just create random NFTs. I mean, you're kind of packaging, whether it's a brand or your identity or whatever you have that's of value. You have to think about, how rare you want to make that, what you want to show it as. Do you want it to be a picture, a video, and really think about what's going to make, encapsulate that value best in a digital form. Other than that, I mean, we can talk about Enjin Coin. We envisioned Enjin Coin because we thought that NFTs, just by themselves, they're great for unlocking utility and things like that. But there's a lot of cases where people actually want to have some initial value inside the NFT. If somebody's purchasing something, if it already has some value in it, just like if you're purchasing, a gold necklace, that there's some gold in there, and that's a valuable resource, and that gives it some intrinsic value right off the bat. So with Enjin Coin, you can infuse this really liquid and established cryptocurrency inside your NFTs. So they already have this base price. It gives your users the ability to unlock that value if something happens and they feel like they can't sell their item. They can basically melt it and take out the ENJ value inside. What we're doing with staking is really we're involving the whole Enjin Coin community, the people that have earned those items in the past and have items that have ENJ value inside them, to actually be part of the new Efinity network. By owning these items, by staking their Enjin Coin, they're going to be participating in choosing nodes on the Efinity network. And with Enjin Coin being so widely distributed, this is actually a valuable service they're providing. They're nominating the nodes that run the new network, and those nodes are going to generate revenue, whether it's marketplace sales or transaction fees on the Efinity network, and then those dividends are going to go out to people who own EFI and ENJ actually.
Great, that's really helpful. A lot of these concepts, by the way, I'm sure are new to some people. There's of course wizards on this call who know all about staking, but maybe you could just kind of talk us through, even at a high level, how does one stake, and what is staking involve if you're relatively new to that area?
Sure. So staking, obviously, you can choose. I mean, there's different platforms that you can stake on, and what it really means is you're locking up your token for a certain amount of time. You're almost like taking it out of circulation. With some forms of staking, you can unstake immediately, and with other forms of staking, you have to commit to, let's say, staking it for 6 months or a year or whatever it is. And you've basically told the community you've locked up that token, and by locking it up, you're going to earn some sort of dividend or APY off that stake.
Great. So the art world has gotten, as we mentioned, a lot of press around NFTs. What's your view on the art and collectible space for NFTs versus gaming NFTs? Any predictions on which one is going to see wider adoption first? Was Beeple's big sale, is that giving the art world a kind of like a boost and a leg up over gaming, or do you think this is a more natural fit for gaming, and gaming is going to achieve broader product market fit and adoption first?
That's a really good question. We can't predict the future, obviously, but I think if we were to make a guess, I think art's going to lead. I think digital collectibles, especially in sports, will lead, because it's just low-hanging fruit. These are things that people already are excited about. I think gaming, it seems like the natural fit. It's so obvious, but I think the way that games are designed, almost these closed ecosystems, it's just really hard to kind of break into that and change up the methodology, the thinking. And so at Enjin, we've actually had a lot of conversations about this. And we've been kind of positioned, because of our roots and origin in gaming, as kind of a blockchain gaming company. And we're kind of repositioning now, working with all sorts of different artists and creators and IP. And we believe we want to be accessible to the masses. And through that, I think gaming will eventually get there. I'm not sure it's going to happen today, but I think in the coming months and year plus, I think we will see bigger, broader adoption with AAA titles.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's really exciting to me about what you guys are working on is, it's part of this mega trend of it's sometimes called cooperative capitalism or kind of federated capitalism, where more peer-to-peer economic activity, more ownership of networks by the people who are using them. That kind of wind in the sail of this whole space, I think, is incredibly powerful, and it just feels inevitable to me, even with the resistance that you might receive from people who have franchises and very powerful kind of platforms and closed ecosystems, as you mentioned, that they don't want to disrupt, lose control of. It just seems like a matter of time, really, till this just breaks open, and just is so compelling, personally.
It's actually interesting. We're seeing some of the largest and most successful brands actually, talking to us right now, because they want to stay cutting edge, and they see that this will change up the whole industry. So we're talking with some incredible brands in the gaming space, and in many markets that really want that they want to tap into this properly, and they want it to be future proof. They don't want another closed ecosystem. So I'm really surprised at that.
Yeah, and I think one of the internal conversations that we keep having is we don't want to be part of the Kleenex fire moment with NFTs. We want to be sticky, and we want to be innovating in ways that create evolving living experiences, unforgettable experiences for the masses. And so we talk about things like utility, and we talk about value, and we talk about, like, how do you really look at kind of the aftermarket of NFTs, not just that moment of purchase, but beyond that creating that lasting experience. So these are things that we're really digging into internally, that we believe we have significant traction on at this point, and we're really excited to start releasing over the coming months and year.
Yeah, I'm glad you came back to the utility thing. The ICO's initial coin offerings in 2017 got a lot of heat. There was a lot of concern about valuations, and I want to touch on valuation in just a second, and prices. But one thing I pointed out to regulators and others about the ICO phenomenon is that it offered a degree of transparency into funding that through traditional crowdfunding you just didn't have. When you sent funding to the bank account of a Kickstarter project, you had no idea what was happening with those funds. There was total invisibility. Someone could run off, and that actually happened a lot of times in various markets in Asia in particular, peer-to-peer lending, et cetera. The degree of transparency that ICOs offered was a new functionality that in theory could help people participating better audit and could increase confidence in kind of that crowdfunding process. And turning to NFTs, one of the things on the art side that I think is especially intriguing to an artist is the idea of kind of embedding in the code this kind of ability, once a piece of art is sold, for an artist actually to continue to receive some financial benefit as that art object appreciates. A lot of artists will sell something when early in their careers for very little relative to what something goes for later in the secondary market, and they see none of that value kind of come back to them. And that's a real piece of utility, a real functionality, given the programmability of NFTs, I think is really interesting. Not everyone, of course, is going to like that, but from an artist perspective, I think it's very powerful and compelling. And I don't know if you want to comment on that type of functionality in gaming.
I think you're spot on. And again, these are conversations we're having quite frequently internally. Is just, how do you build a foundation with usability engineering in mind that is future proof, that you can go beyond the initial transaction. Right now, we're seeing the floodgates open to NFTs. So, one of the audience just asked a bit ago, how do I create an NFT? And we're going to see more and more of this, right? So the question isn't that we should be trying to address right now isn't how do we keep up with that? It's how do we create that full living experience that is the flagship experience for NFTs. And we're doing that through NFT.io, which will be launching in the next 8 weeks. But it's looking beyond that. It's looking at what Efinity is and how it interacts. You mentioned staking, incentivizing, rewarding. We're trying to think about how do you create that lasting stickiness in the NFT space that keeps people coming back. Right now, we have this mass, I used the term Kleenex fire earlier. That's what we're seeing at the moment. What happens when that dies down? And that's where Enjin wants to be. We want to be top of the funnel, catching all of that, building that lasting experience that just skyrockets because it's sustainable and it's a strong, usable infrastructure.
We're actually talking to musicians and artists and celebrities right now, and working on campaigns with them for NFT.io. And in all of these conversations, I mean, we find that they really love the idea of giving these NFTs more utility than just that JPEG. And we think that's going to be key going down the road. There's so many different ways you can do this, whether it's through free airdrops or through value adds that you add when you get that NFT. Now that you have this NFT, you'll have special access to things from that brand or that celebrity. So that's going to be really key in the future.
Let me ask a question. We've got about just 5 more minutes, maybe a little bit longer. So walk us through sort of the roadmap for Enjin over the next 12 to 18 months. Like, what are you talk about, owning that top of funnel and developing this sort of deeper relationship with these digital goods, and broadly creating a property rights system for the internet, which I think is like an amazing concept and idea, and something that almost all of us in crypto are passionate about. So what are the sort of like key things you guys are going to work toward? And if we host you guys again a year from now, we'll be able to look back and go like, these are the things that we were passionate about working on and delivering for our community. So what are the big wins for you guys over the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, I'll take just the beginning of that. I'm looking at bringing blockchain to the masses through NFTs and even other mechanisms, right? We have a wallet, a new version of our wallet that's coming out mid to late May. It's beautiful. This is a fun wallet. You don't have to be a diehard crypto enthusiast to use this. We want our products to not just be pigeonholed for game developers. While we still love working with our game developers, we see what we're building accessible to the masses. So this is really, really important to us. We're incredibly passionate about that. And so when we talk about Efinity, Efinity is that cross-chain highway for all NFTs, but it's built and constructed in such a way where we've created incentives for people to create price discovery. And I'll let Witek talk a little bit more about that. But everything we're doing is with this obsessive focus on the end user. We want this to be so easy and so fun, something that they can experience and continue that experience, or it's not just a one-time transaction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like we're doing this on a fundamental level through the actual blockchain itself, where the way the whole economy is structured, it incentivizes people to use it. It's all about the users bringing their value to the network, not paying huge sums of money to use the blockchain. So when you're an NFT creator, an NFT user, you're going to be it's going to be an easy, frictionless experience for you to make and use these NFTs. It's going to be fast. It's going to be, seamless. And then, with the user interfaces, we're going to make these NFTs more discoverable, easy to interact with. That whole process of onboarding onto a wallet is going to be seamless. And down the line, we're really exploring all these opportunities with a lot of remarkable creators, game developers, celebrities, and trying to inspire them to use these in new ways. So like we're launching that marketplace aspect of it. The Efinity network itself is actually gonna incentivize people to create their own marketplaces and really play with price discovery. So one issue with NFTs is, what is an NFT worth? You can have people bidding on it on a market, but a lot of the time it's really hard to determine the value of an NFT if it hasn't sold in the past. So when what we're doing with Efinity is the whole core of the chain is going to be a bid and ask system, an order book, where people can actually put in orders and say, I want to pay this much for that Snoop Dogg NFT, or for whatever NFT that they're interested in. Even if that's not the actual price that someone will sell it at, it will create bids and asks that are eventually narrowing into the real price that the market believes the item's worth. That'll really stimulate liquidity. And then with all the tools that we're bringing out, NFT.io, our game development platforms and SDKs, I think that will give everyone the tools to really run with this and build beautiful products in the coming years. So I think NFTs are really going to be front and center in a lot of businesses and games and people's interactions with the digital world.
I'm glad you touched on the challenges around valuation. Some people say that in the art world, it's all about the stories that develop around art and artists, and that's what drives the valuation. And I imagine there can be some similar kind of an overlap to this space as well. Gaming world's becoming more popular and prices appreciating as a result. What's exciting to me about this whole space is it's opening up to a broader community of people with computing devices and internet connections, billions of people, activities that have traditionally been restricted to high net worth individuals. The securities laws traditionally said, well, you have to be a millionaire in order to invest in early stage technology, seed stage, and now, you just need a computing device and an internet connection, and you can be anywhere in the world and do this. But it requires a massive amount of education, and people have to learn new things. It's not easy. And I see in the comments, people are still, mentioning, boy, this is all so new. And it's going to take some work, everyone, to kind of like learn about this new digital frontier. That's what we're here to help with through these webinars, of course, and through our research and other things. But guys, where can people go to learn more about Enjin, about NFTs? What are some of the best places to access good, reliable information on this subject for people who want to dig more deeply into it?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I resonate with the audience asking that question. And that's what we're going to be working towards over the next 4, 6, 8 weeks is really, we're going to be redoing Enjin.io, our website, to speak to these issues. So it's not just, here's a product list of what we do, but it's why we do what we do, and a little bit on what, but also here's how we do it and how you can get engaged. NFT.io will be launching. We have our new wallet coming out. And again, our focus is to make this easy for the masses, where you need an email address, a credit card, you can go, you can have fun with it. So our job is to really think about how we break down all friction and barriers, making this a seamless experience that people can enjoy and have fun with. So that's our job, and that's what we're going to be heavily focused on. And how that touches practically over the next year, you asked about roadmap, is just simply we're hiring a lot of developers, really bulking our team. We're focused on, and I think this is really important, quality products, products that work, products that are functional, products that are reliable, and really make this easy for everybody to use.
Awesome. Well, I think in summary, we really appreciated you guys coming here to educate us and teach us in our community. And we'll look forward to hopefully welcoming you back in the not too distant future. I have a feeling this topic of conversation will only increase in the near term. So thank you both very much. The Enjin token is available in the blockchain.com wallet and exchange, as is Polkadot, both two projects that have been discussed in our webinar today. I really want to thank Caleb and Witek for joining us, and Garrett for your insights. This has been super helpful for me, and I have so many people calling me every day. They're like, how do I learn more about NFTs? I'm like, you're just going to have to join the webinar. We're going to learn together. So thank you guys. Really appreciate your time, and I'm so excited about the work you guys are doing, really to translate all this incredible creativity in the world, and let people that are helping build those things own some of it too. I think is just a super interesting concept. So congratulations on everything, and yeah, look forward to catching up in the not too distant future.